This is the corny music. We love it.
We always have to say something in the beginning too.
This is the music. Every time.
Every time. Hello, welcome back to Humble Brags and Shopping Bags. It's been a little while for Hannah and I, and we're very, very excited to be joined today by our dear friends and incredible business owners, Kirsten and Costa. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for
Costa
having us.
pauses. He's like, I don't know what to say.
So he's still
say
jamming
hello.
to the music in his
I
head.
know. I know.
Yeah.
It's catchy. You want to go to sleep tonight.
It is,
yeah.
and I love your board there with the tunes. So
Last time
I'm
last
ready to
time I
chime
was
in at
watching.
any time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love how this conversation is going to be like conversation with friends because I know pretty much I think you were one of the first people I met when I first entered into e-com, and you were obviously amazing and so welcoming and accommodating, but I feel like we've been on this journey with you because it's been such an interesting couple of years for you guys, but also like there's so much that we don't know about your origin story and where you were. So it's going to be good. We're going to have a good little chat.
It's going to be fun. Also, a shout out to Kirsten, who just won Industry Person of the
Yes.
Year at the Orient. I will do a sound effect, actually. Why not?
Thank you.
And that was also very emotional for me because I've known you for a long time, since the humble beginnings, and I cried throughout that whole speech. I'm sorry, Costa. I was screaming and crying like a freak. And
Yeah, no.
it distracted me when I was up there.
It was next level. That night was
It was,
next level.
yeah, I'm sure you were very proud. You were also a finalist, which is incredible. Both of you were in the same category, which really goes to show the impact that Designerex is having on the community and both of you as individuals, which is really beautiful.
We were both very humble, in line with the title of the show.
The theme.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, this is the place where we just talk about all those great things that you've been doing.
Exactly.
But yeah, that was a fun night.
It was very fun. So take us back. Tell us about what inspired Designerex, and for people who don't know what it is, obviously it's a dress rental platform, the Airbnb for dresses, as you say. So take us back to how it all started, what brought on the idea, and how did you start to flesh it out?
Yeah, well, I'll start with how we came across the problem, I guess. We were both real estate agent backgrounds. So I was, working in real estate, and just the yearly Black Tie Awards night came around, and all the girls in the office, we just thought, what are we going to wear? We went shopping. I discovered the Strand Arcade and found a dress that I loved. Went back to the office, and I was in that boutique with Costa, and I fell in love with this dress. And he was like, it just didn't make sense. It was about $1,000, and it was a dress that I was only going to wear once. And so we had to kind of justify it. Just didn't, make sense as a valuable purchase. And so went back to the office, and some of the girls in the office, spun their chair around, and we chatted about it. And she said, you can rent dresses on Facebook. And so I was like, no, I didn't know that. So jumped on Facebook and then discovered a girl in Perth renting out, about 20 or so dresses. And she had this new season dress in my size. Perfect. The stars aligned. And emailed her, and she asked me for my credit card details. I emailed them to her really quickly, which was really not secure. And
Especially with all of the marketplace scammers that you
know.
get this day and age.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually, there's a lot of
Absolutely,
trust that you have to commit to, and you must really want that dress to be able to be like, I'm just going to, type all my details in.
yeah, she was like, email, and I was like, that's cool. I'll do that. I'll do that for that dress.
For that dress, yeah.
$150 or something to rent it. And I did that, and she was just like hopeful that I'd send it back to her. In the end, it went well. But then we started to kind of talk about it a bit more and realised that this is gaining momentum on Facebook. Lots of girls are looking for a place to go to monetize the dresses specifically because they're only getting one wear out of them. And that's where, we're in a bar, no kids. We literally get
All
an
the days. That way
Yeah.
back when.
Yeah. And I had a great experience. And then we just realised that this could be an opportunity. I was pretty much over my job in property management. We had gone through a little bit in losing a previous company. So the kind of moment for us was coming together. When we saw an opportunity and the timing was right to go for something. And so, Costa probably put that global approach to it, to the idea. At first I was like, this is a sick idea. Let's buy 20 dresses. And he's like, that's going to cost $20,000. And I was like, oh, yeah. And he's like, that's not the actual problem we want to solve. We want to solve the problem of incentivizing women to purchase the right dresses and then monetize them and then extracting that value and, opening up a new market.
How did you go in making that leap? Like, you've recognized a problem because you've gone, and this is a very similar story, I think, to a lot of how great businesses start and then grow. But where most people stop is that they've got the idea and they go, what's next? I don't know what to do. I don't know how to begin. I don't know how to start researching. And they get so overwhelmed with the next step that they just don't do it. So, like, what was your kind of moment of, okay, we've got this, we're going to go in, but what did you do next?
So we were off the back, as Kirsten had mentioned, we'd lost the previous company. Now, I had innovated in the real estate industry. I had created a digital real estate for sale sign. It was called Liveboard. So it was the first digital real estate for sale sign. And so we were coming off the back of that, and that was like years of commercialization. And so we had done that leap, that question that you asked, Hannah. We had done it before. Well, I had done it before. And so even though probably the ending of that wasn't where I wanted it to be, the beginning of this new, I knew exactly what we needed to do in a sense. When I say exactly, I meant like the next 10 steps roughly. We didn't really know exactly what we wanted to do. For example, we were building a digital platform. We didn't know where do we start from, what language do you build. But before we get into some of the details, the biggest leap forward is the perseverance, because you never know everything. You barely know anything in a sense, but it's about knowing that next step and taking the next step. So we started
the very next step was we allocated $5,000 and we were like, what can we do with this $5,000? Let's just start with something. And the first thing we did was lodge a patent application with that money. And so on the back of that, we started, so Costa organised that and lodged it.
He can take care of the admin.
Just documents.
Documents.
Paperwork.
Very serious documents, lodge them.
Just paperwork.
But then we were walking, like basically calling around Sydney, asking agencies how much they would charge to build us this website that would do these things. And the number one thing that we wanted to do was launch with ID verification technology, scans, licenses and passports for legitimacy. And we wanted to go down that route of trust and security to begin with. That was the whole point, from moving it from Facebook to a secure marketplace. So going around agencies, we're getting quotes for $200,000 and we just couldn't go ahead with a $200,000 quote. But we're getting quotes for kind of a design of this website platform that we had imagined. And that's kind of where
we became so in the process of, we had set up the entity and lodged the patent, so set up the structure of how we wanted to do it. I came across so we had the plan ready to go, and we had finalised that we wanted to build it on Ruby on Rails. That's the first time I actually learned about Shopify. I had no idea.
Build on Ruby
Ruby
on Rails. Wow.
And it's still on Ruby on Rails.
Yeah.
It's still on Ruby on Rails. So it ended up being custom built. We wanted to custom build it, and only because it's so custom itself. We would definitely use Shopify if we were a Shopify.
Yeah. But truthfully, you're not just a website, you're a marketplace.
Correct.
And so there's so much, you're essentially a technology company.
Correct.
So it is different. There's so many more nuances and complexities, right?
It's completely different.
This is 2015 as well.
Yeah.
So there was not even any off the shelf sharing kind of
it
websites to use.
Yeah.
So we had to go custom, and we looked at other marketplaces that were successful and that went global. And so, like, obviously Airbnb we came across, and they were built on Ruby on Rails. They were scaling. We're like, this is it. And we met a guy in Sydney who referred us to an up and coming Ruby team in Nepal. And that's how we got started.
And and there's an investment piece in there as well. So we ended up meeting an investor. We had the plan. They came on board.
How far into the business?
It was just after we filed the patent, so the business was
pretty
actually
early on.
pretty early on.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show, like, put the wheels in motion, you know, just do little steps and you start attracting, interest.
Yep.
It's funny, isn't it? Because sometimes that's the simplest thing, just by having a conversation, sharing the idea and saying, hey, what do you think about this? How do you think I can go about it? That ultimately probably is what ended with you speaking to somebody who then put you in touch with somebody else who then helped you find your developer, helped you find your investor. That was probably the biggest thing that you needed to kickstart that idea and actually put the execution in place.
Totally, without a doubt. So
Yeah, so
absolutely.
you can't really wait around with your idea and not do anything about it and hope that an investor or someone else will put the wheels in motion. You just got to start scrappy, putting it together and just go from one step to the next.
Yeah.
I love that word, scrappy.
Scrappy. All about the
Oh,
scrappy.
it's really scrappy.
Love a scrap. Yeah.
You know, love it.
We do. So we spoke about how it's a marketplace. So it's a two-sided marketplace, which obviously comes with a lot of complexities. Can you, first of all, how did you set it up to be two-sided? So where did you first attract your dress renters and rentals, and how did that all come together? Yeah.
Good question. And we solved it early on, and this can be applied to any industry. What we did was we had built a platform. We thought, what comes first? That's a chicken and the egg problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so everything's built. So the whole marketplace is built. We then blocked the ability to search. So you go onto the landing page, and the minute you go on there, it says, sign up for early access, and we'll let you know once. But in the meantime, if you've got any dresses, put your dresses up in time for launch.
Okay. And how are you pushing that out into the market? Ads, social ads, paid ads?
At the time, we went to all these groups that I saw who had groups on Facebook renting out their dresses. So they had already... Yeah, and so exactly.
Yep.
So this girl in Perth and these other girls that were doing it who had their wardrobes and were setting up type shops on Facebook.
Yep.
Basically just Facebook pages back then. Even Marketplace wasn't, there.
And that's why it's so good when you're solving a problem that you had, because you're already connected to the small little solutions so that you're already a little bit ingrained in that community, but you're making a better solution for it, which is really cool.
And so we're kind of like, it's free to list. There's we only charge a service fee when you make money. And it's all these security features, which are all additions to what they were already doing. More security benefits, payment gateways.
But I would assume that, obviously you had a really good experience, but there would have been other people who didn't have a good experience.
Absolutely.
And so the trust side of it was so imperative and so important that they would have been like, fantastic, I can now list my dress and have the same experience, but in a secure environment where I know I'm going to get paid and I know that I'm going to receive my dress back.
Yep, and you can go to a platform if something goes wrong. And absolutely, that was our whole reasoning for building it, was that although I had a good experience at scale, there was no one to go to if something did go wrong. The trust element just was not there.
It's so fun fact, I did my thesis in multi-sided marketplaces.
Oh,
Yes.
wow. Where?
So at Adelaide Uni, when I was doing my master's in commerce management. And I don't know how I landed on multi-sided market. Actually, I did, because I was working, I won't go into too much detail, but my trainer was Kaylee Tsines. So I was kind of inspired and constantly speaking to her and her partner at the time, Toby, around what they were doing. And it was very much at that time they were transitioning from their PDF BBG guides to Sweat. And that was conceptually a multi-sided marketplace. I was like, this is cool. I'll look into more of these. But as I went through, the concept of a multi-sided marketplace is really smart, but so difficult. So difficult, because you've got that buyer, you've got that seller, and it's not just initially to get the momentum, but you're constantly, as you grow, having to juggle the two sides. So obviously at start, you kind of found a solve and a solution for the seller side of things because you knew there was a captive audience. How did you go increasing that buyer side? Was it the same? Was it the same process? And how have you continued that as you've scaled and grown?
One of the so you've got the inventory first, and one of the things that ramped it. I mean, in the beginning, we had some PR. Like we were sitting in front of the TV one day, and we had noticed from our existing users, he had made it to the Today Show, so on Channel 9. So it got some organic PR. A real inflection point, I would say, from a renting perspective, was when the Google SEO came into play. And we didn't even know. See, if you're Shopify, SEO is a normal part. You create a business; it's all part of it.
Yep.
When you're custom, we didn't even know if it was a thing. Like realistically, we did not plan for SEO. We just planned to create a marketplace. So we didn't think of a lot of things, but we've managed to improve everything on a daily basis.
Yeah, because how is that? Because obviously we understand how SEO works in the back end from just, standard website. Does that translate to, do you have to think about it differently when it comes to the way that you're set up?
Yeah, totally.
Like everything back end
Totally.
is
Interesting.
custom.
Yeah.
And there's manual processes until you build your own tech to support it.
Right. So how have you got around the SEO?
So initially I literally just studied other sites, just in general, cars, whatever industry, it's all kind of similar. See how they were structured. So then I thought, we've got to get the designer brand to the URL, we've got to do the dress name there. And just by, I guess, doing my own, layman's person research.
Amazing, yeah.
More recently, so fast track a few more years, we're growing rapidly, and I thought, really got to nail this thing. We had hired a consultant, Mark Barter from previous CMO at Showpo, and he's amazing. He does consultancy, and he had a more thorough look at the structure. We got to really structure the pages, and so we did that. That's a more recent.
Random question.
Yeah.
Do the customers that you get, like when they are searching on Google, are they looking for dress rentals, or are they just looking for dresses and then they might come across that they can rent it as well?
I think a bit of both. I think if they're aware of the rental market, they'll add rent on the back of a brand name.
Yeah.
And then we'll come up. But otherwise, that's a big opportunity for us.
Yeah.
And we're constantly working on being seen in those circumstances where consumers don't know they can rent, but they're looking for brands that they love. And often they find these brands and these dresses in store. Maybe they're browsing in store, but then, we're savvy customers. We go online and we look for a deal or we look for a promo code.
Yeah.
But when you find that you can rent it, especially what we focus on, special occasion wear, one-off pieces is like where rental just makes so much sense.
Yeah. I mean, last night I was with my amazing niece, Olivia.
Shout out to Olivia.
Yes.
We love Olivia.
And she has her year 10 formal this year. And she said to me, do you happen to know anywhere that I could rent a dress? And I was like, do I happen to know? So we're obviously going to hook Olivia up with the best dress in year 10 in December.
She's
Can't wait.
got a lot to choose from. Yeah. But what's super important, super interesting, back to your point about supply and demand. So we got the supply to begin with. But unlike Airbnb, for example, both of our sides of our users are quite fluid. So what we did was we marketed just to the demand side, to the renters. So just come, here's a Zimmerman, new season, rent it for this amount. It's like a slam dunk. And then she comes on, she rents it from Samantha, and then she realizes, hang on, why is Samantha making money? I've got a few of these in my wardrobe. She lists her dresses. So literally from inception, from launch, we've mostly marketed to the demand side, to the renters. And we haven't had a supply problem. We've had over 80,000 dresses listed since launch.
Which is
and we've
huge.
pretty much focused on the renter side.
And I'd imagine you see a lot of pretty cool stories. Do you have any stories of renters that are really making a good little side hustle out of this?
Yeah, well, our lenders, so our dress owners, we have thousands of them, and what we've found is some of the lenders that love what they do. They love doing it. They're really good at it. They're really passionate about fashion. And they actually turn a profit on their dresses. They turn into rental businesses. So we've got over 1,000, maybe 1,500, 2,000 even, lenders on the platform that consider themselves a rental business. And so we offer them a few extra features, and looking to build that out even more, because they are what we call super lenders, really. And they go out and pretty much buy a new season. As soon as the brands drop new season collections, they go out and buy it. And so tapping into that for us is a big part of our future, and to offer them some data on that, so they can make more informed choices when they're buying, as well as our B2B Shopify app, pushing that out. Yeah.
Can we talk about that?
Please.
We can.
Oh, can we?
We can.
Good.
I did mention
You
it
did
first.
mention it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So
Sorry.
Yeah, no,
I
tell
was
us.
going to
I
say,
just
I'm
wanna
just
know.
going to with the lender thing as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
We're
yeah.
constantly working on ways to give them more tools. So we give them, for example, their own URL. A lot of our lenders put their Designerex URL into the Instagram bio, which means they directly link to their own listings. And so in an instant, anyone can just list the dress, it's free, and instantly start accepting Afterpay and also Uber for their dresses, like without
Is
software.
Uber activated now?
Yeah, it's launched.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So what?
Yep.
So what does that mean? That means they can get their dress quicker.
within 2 hours.
Amazing.
That's really
I
that's
love it.
actually great.
Yeah.
You know what? That is perfect synergy, because if I was, I don't know, buying from a random store and I knew that I had the time, or I was buying it on a Monday for a Friday event, you're not going to go Uber. But if it's like dress rental, I feel like there's more of a need to be like, actually, my dress doesn't fit, or this hasn't happened. I need something.
It's an on-demand experience, and it's
Yeah,
for
love
a
that.
specific event date. For every customer that's booking a dress, it's for someone's like occasion. They've got a specific date they need it for. So logistics piece is huge for us to nail that, and to keep that offering, multiple, options for consumers, and to really fit into that e-commerce experience that you're all used to.
Yeah.
When you transact traditionally,
Yeah.
you buy something and instantly you
Get it
get a
straight
tracking number, and
Yeah.
it's quick,
Yeah.
it's cheap, it's affordable. So fitting into that experience is our
Yeah.
focus.
And before we go on to the Shopify app, because obviously I want to hear about that, but logistics, I think that's a great segue, because obviously you've got not just you've got a whole host of additional issues to think about when it comes to logistics. Have you had any moments as you've kind of built that out? Because I've got to imagine in 2015, it probably wasn't as sophisticated, and not as many options were there as what you probably have now. Did you realize that was going to be a challenge until it got to the point and you were like, whoa, okay.
We were literally just
Yeah.
doing this, we realized customers needed something. We're like, let's find a solution. Let's integrate like a tracking solution so they could track, because you're used to like a tracking number. Oh, crap, we've got to give a tracking number and things like that. So
That was one of the first things that
Yeah.
we, from a shipping perspective, realized, we don't have tracking numbers. So
we're
we
real
integrate-
estate agents by trade for this, and
Yeah.
so we're just giving this idea a go and giving it a red hot go. And we realized,
The synergies we did find with real estate, I should point that out. It is there's a lot of synergies in terms of property management. So it is similar in a way to looking to managing a property. So you've got the owner on one hand, and so we kind of understand those dynamics at play. And when it comes to a dress, obviously it's not, the value isn't $500,000 or $1 million or whatever it may happen to be. So we've actually brought a lot of those synergies into the business itself. So, but yeah, going on to the tracking thing, that was one of the first. We hadn't planned for that.
Like,
and we
oh
did a
shit.
yeah.
Did not realize.
Yeah, that was one of the first ones.
Yeah. And even just any type of integrate, like Afterpay. I've talked about Afterpay before, and how everyone was just plugging in Afterpay, but they were all on Shopify. And so I was speaking to Afterpay and they're like, no, we're not doing custom integration.
You went and chased someone down
Yeah.
at an event.
Yeah, I
and you were
did.
like, from Afterpay.
Did you? Yeah.
You were like, help.
Yeah, I was
and
like
she helped you.
in Melbourne. Yeah. She
Wow.
was on a panel and I
Yeah.
was like, this is my moment. She came off and I was like, just sweating with nervousness. And I was like, hey, I've got this like platform thing. It's like this and it works like this. And your team's saying no. And I need Afterpay. And she's like, I'll get you Afterpay.
Yeah.
And so from then on, we were the first marketplace in Australia to offer Afterpay, which is,
That's pretty cool.
yeah, we wanted to offer it to our customers. And that's why I did that. But we do things like that to progress our customer experience, even though it might sound really normal in the retail scene and the e-commerce scene. But for us, everything is a custom, unique integration from both sides, from the solution partners as well as our side.
Yeah. I don't think people quite understand just the complexities that go into anything that is built in the way that your marketplace is, because ultimately you've got to think about the entire stack when you change one thing or implement one thing. It's not just about clicking a button and it like
Things
switching
can
on.
break.
Yeah,
Totally.
things can break.
Like just, we've learned along the way.
Yeah.
Like even today we were talking about, I was talking to one of our tech guys with for the product feed, the Google product feed. And she said, it was Preps I was talking to, and she said, do you want me to upload the product feed, any edits instantaneously? And a few years back I would have said, yeah, make it live. But now I'm thinking, hang on, got to check the speed. If it's pinging back and forth, it's going to impact the speed. So progressively, as you with experience and so we've been kind of fortunate that we did, as new and as emerging the circular economy is now. We actually did start it pretty early on, so we've learned a lot of things along the way, including site speed. And in images is a constant thing. How do we maximize the efficiency of delivering those images?
Well, of course, because you don't want the thousands and thousands of images all loading at once, because that's going to significantally impact.
Oh, and we've done
your
that before.
speed.
Yeah.
You're like, we learned the hard way in that respect.
Yeah.
Does it ever keep you up at night in
All
terms
the time.
of the?
Like literally, like I have pings from our tech team there.
you don't
it's
wanna
not
know.
figure. It's not like a figure of speech. It is literally.
Damn, between that and the kids, I don't know how you guys ever sleep, really.
Yeah.
And
Sometimes
all
they're
the
not-
awards you win,
I
you
know.
know, like
It's a hard life. No, it actually is. I wasn't sarcastic. But going back to circular economy, obviously you guys you're a big contributor when it comes to sustainability in fashion. And I think this app that we were going to talk about really lends itself to that and supporting the industry further and the circular economy. So can you talk about how you're innovating in that space specifically, and then also touch on the app?
Well, it's really interesting because if you look back at our patent application in 2015, we put some of these processes and we thought how this industry would progress, and we covered things such as the relationship between the circular economy and retailers and brands. So it's really great time for us to now start implementing that. But I think we had to wait a little bit. We're a bit ahead of the time. Retailers and brands weren't ready.
Yeah.
We were still going through years of educating, consumers and the whole market about renting. I think post-COVID is now our time. COVID accelerated, the spotlight on sustainability in fashion and how bad fashion is to the planet. And so I think, the time is right for us to now partner with brands and retailers and basically, incentivize customers at the point of purchase and show them, the attribute of making a profit.
It essentially what the Shopify app does, it makes shopping profitable when you're buying fashion. It highlights the profit potential of a dress and instantly enables you to start taking bookings even before you've taken delivery of the dress.
wow. So as a user, take me through what that would look like. So I've picked out my dress. I'm going to my formal. I mean, that was a long time ago, but going to the formal. And I am on the checkout page.
Yeah. So
What do I see?
Yeah. So previously on the checkout page, you would have just seen a dress that cost you $500. That's all you would have seen. And you
So
would have
imagine you're on a brand site.
Yeah.
Yep. You're at checkout.
Yep.
Yeah. And you're looking at $1,000.
Yep.
You're going to see a potential profit return based on real case studies of ours that might show you $2,500 return or a breakdown of the rental fee. So address is an asset, and we know that for sure.
Yeah.
Do we do it via that same retailer? Rent through them as well? Or
So
through Designerex?
So you'll buy it and then it'll immediately create a listing for you. But what's really exciting too is the brands will revenue share. So we revenue share back to the brands.
Amazing.
so they can uplift their profit margin. So they've already sold the dress. The brands continue doing what they do best.
Yeah.
We don't want to change what brands do. I don't think we need to do. I think that's just overstepping the line. You don't need to do that.
Yeah.
Consumers are already doing it. Consumers are already buying dresses and listing it on Designerex. So, hey, why don't we showcase the profit potential and why don't we list it instantaneously and then link up that consumer with that store so that store can get attributed revenue share.
Yeah.
So everyone wins. That's the basis behind the Designerex Shopify app.
And that's really creating a loop, getting a consumer to list the dress, rent it out, and then really reaching more consumers through rental and then getting those renters to come back and buy from these brands that they've just experienced and creating a real circular economy. And we need to ask ourselves, how are we actually going to take out fast fashion when fast fashion's just so convenient? It's affordable, it's quick. We need better solutions. And so as we progress and get better at what we're doing and become easier for the consumers to adopt, what we're doing, that's where the real point of really getting rid of fast fashion is going to be. So the more people that are getting involved in rental or the circular economy in fashion, the better.
Yeah.
And what we don't want is, and this is specifically for designer fashion, female designer fashion, because that's where the asset lies. What we don't want is those assets going straight into resale. Because resale is a loss-making exercise for a consumer. If you buy the dress for $1,000, you're going to sell it for like $500 or $700 if you're lucky.
Yeah.
Whereas renting is actually profitable, so there's a window you can make money out of it.
Yeah.
So there's that element, and the other element from a sustainability perspective is that the dress will have an elongated life if it goes into rental. It can rent up to 30 times, and then at the end of the day, take it to resale.
Yeah.
So resale should be coming at the end of the cycle of a brand new designer dress.
Yeah.
Definitely not after purchase.
And that's a really important distinction also of your value proposition. You're a rental platform, you're not a resale platform.
Absolutely not.
Correct.
Resale's been done and it's being done well by a lot of global players. So we're not about to include resale at all ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can quote me on that.
Heard it here first.
And our
Going deeper into our customer experience is just our number one focus and will be forever. So.
I love the way you're innovating because I think that you're also touching on like that emotional human behavior of what we want to also see. Like if we're thinking about why wouldn't you put a dress on a resale a rental platform, it's probably because I don't know if I'll make any money. It's too hard. I don't want to go through the process of listing. It's like you've thought about that and you've solved it. I think it's great.
Awesome.
Really innovative. I can't wait to see you guys pop up on.
Can't wait to use it.
A heap of stores.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
What does that look like? What are the timelines for launch in that respect?
It's already live in beta on you can check it out now. There's on a retailer. Yeah.
So how do brands get in touch?
info@designerex.com.au. Send us an email and we'll get in touch and we'll show them exactly, because a lot of the brands are definitely already on Designerex. So we've got about over 80,000 listings. So.
And what regions are you operating in at the moment? Is it just Australia, New Zealand?
It's Australia and also the US.
And the US.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about that. Have done a US trip with you before. Okay.
Is there another one coming up?
Yeah, I think it might have to be. So US, when did you guys launch into the US? How did that look like? A couple of Aussies from the West made it to the US. Talk to us about.
So look, we launched in 2016 and then building. And then in 2018, we were selected by Austrade to be part of their landing pad program in San Francisco. So we, the US was always on our agenda, but it fast-tracked that kind of entry for us, just to be part of that cohort. And that's kind of where we spent a lot of time in the US market and exploring that. And why we chose the US market was because Rent the Runway had been there, was operating there and educating the market on renting. So we thought that was the best next educated market to approach and to launch, even though we had a different model. And so we launched in 2019 in the US.
Wow.
Yes, we set up
Before COVID.
everything there.
Just
Yeah.
prior to COVID, so it was a bit of a gap year, and now the US were established there, and it's a massive future market for us that
Yeah.
we're replicating the playbook from Australia into the USA,
Into
obviously
US.
with some tailored amendments.
How was that though, 2019? Because that would have been a big decision
Yep.
to enter into one of the biggest retail markets in the world,
Yep.
right? That's not a small decision, probably even from an investment standpoint, a big decision.
Yeah.
2019, you're like, yep, we're doing this. It's on board. 2020 comes around and bam, COVID.
Well,
Does that
yeah.
just...
We were building up, pretty much almost packing our bags to move there.
Thank God you didn't.
what would we do without you?
Exactly.
All those big nights.
No, what are you talking about?
Yeah, so we were really committed to shift our focus to the US market. We had proven the concept here. And, came back. I mean, I gave birth to our second child in March 2020.
Little Tobes. Toby the
Yeah.
runner.
So you're launching into US, COVID happens. Second
And we
child.
bring home second child. And
Probably
then
the best time to have a child.
But the,
Yeah, true.
but the
Because,
whole
like,
nation
everyone's
goes
at
into lockdown.
Yeah.
And I'm standing there with kids and a business that, everyone had to cancel their bookings. There was no weddings happening, just like Airbnb had a mass cancellation
Yeah.
episode.
What went
Pretty
through
much
your head?
overnight though. You
Yeah,
go to
literally.
zero.
It was
Literally.
overnight.
Were you overwhelmed? Were you stressed? Were you worried? Like, what went through your head when you realized that people aren't going to be renting dresses? We've got 2 babies to feed, and this is our life.
So it was
Yeah.
pretty.
It was
A shock, just
Yeah.
like everyone else was going through it. We thought maybe it was going to end quicker than it did.
we saw people pivot. We didn't pivot.
Yeah.
We knew keep calm.
I know.
gonna
what,
be
you guys
honest.
were just hibernating. Were you guys just like
Well,
sitting, shaking in the living room for
We
a
started-
year? Like,
Well,
Well, actually, we went into lockdowns,
Yeah.
and then when lockdowns would lift, even in a certain state, a lockdown would lift, and then we'd spike.
Queensland, was
Like, they
coming
were
out of
all for
lockdown
it.
all the time. Hey?
yeah.
they were
Queensland,
good.
They were good.
Yeah, they were
good.
great.
Queensland were great.
Google SEO. Focus on Queensland.
Yeah, so we would move around the country as
Yeah.
lockdowns lifted.
We-
So our lenders could still get to the post box and send
Yeah.
to these locations that were not in lockdown. So we knew it wasn't customer behavior changing; it was just forced behavior.
Environment.
Yeah. And we also doubled down on a bit of a tech during that period. So there was a few things that we did that we thought it's going to, because we were seeing, every time it would open up, it would be like massive spikes. So we thought, you know what, just buckle up, double down on our tech. We're lucky and in hindsight, we were lucky that we came out of it and we had already had the platform, the traction, and then the whole
you know what?
circular economy
Yeah.
thing just took off even more.
A lot of companies didn't survive, and I think we knew how to deal with these hard times. I think we had been through hard times before, even harder times.
Yeah.
So we knew we were equipped.
Yeah,
to
it's
get through
definitely testament to your characters. You guys are both very cool, calm, and collected at all times. I try to shake you both, but it never works. You're just always cool and chill. It's just amazing.
I honestly think you're the chillest
Yeah.
people I've ever met.
Yeah,
The
There's
chillest,
Hannah's
the
big statement.
illest.
the chillest,
Yeah, the
the realest,
the realest.
fearless. Let's go.
I know Costa might have another opinion on that. He's living with a Scorpio, but
No, but honestly, well done for that, because like you said, not a lot of businesses survived it. And I think you guys, your attitude, your perseverance, your perspective, and even being like, look, now's a good chance to focus on the tech, make sure everything's good for when we come out of this. And we know we are going to come out of it. And you did, bigger and better.
Yep. But in terms of US focus, what did that, like, do you think that that period of time where you could focus on the tech and think about and almost strategize the bigger plans, do you think that's helped you now in terms of your entry into that market?
Yeah, totally. And the US has learned us a lot about our international playbook, international expansion playbook. By expanding to the US, we now know kind of roughly what to do and what not to do in the UK and Europe, because that's our next markets as well. So it's really taught us that.
So how we set up our back end and
like
corporate structure and things like that has taught us a lot.
Yeah.
And ultimately, you know, we want to be in 100, 200 countries. If there's 200 countries.
And you will.
Yeah. Well, really, you should be able to fly to the UK or to the US or to Europe and be able to log into the app and just get something delivered. And because you trust the experience, you trust the app, you trust the lenders, you trust the reviews, and you get Uber to deliver it to you.
Yeah,
you know,
seamless.
global integrations. There's no reason why we shouldn't be everywhere because it's a global problem, and you know, the circular economy is a global global thing we need to attack.
Yeah, and sustainability is a massive driving force.
Yeah.
But you know, and ultimately, it's driven by consumers. It's always been consumer led, and then the fact that it's also sustainable is another massive benefit to the platform. So,
So you've obviously told us your goals, some of your goals, and where you see yourself. And I just had a vision of Designerex billboard in Times Square. So that's definitely going to happen because I just saw it flash.
Manifesting.
Are we manifesting?
Yeah,
manifesting.
I'm a big manifester.
Yeah.
Me too.
But what's your vision for Designerex? Obviously, there's an amazing problem that you're trying to solve for when it comes to sustainability. But where do you guys see yourself playing on a global scale in whatever time frame?
Yeah, 171 countries, one app. That's where we see ourselves, and that's what all our efforts are, and we're leveraging off the back of the success that we've had in
More
Australia.
scale for us means more impact. More consumers we're reaching, more happy customers.
Yeah.
Removing fast fashion and supporting brands. It supports brands. It incentivizes customers to keep buying these seasonal pieces when customers are questioning the value, when they're just getting one wear. You know, social media has been a huge player in this, changing that value piece. You know, we no longer put a nice dress in the wardrobe and keep it forever. You know, we want to go through multiple different, and it's a big piece of personal expression as well. It enables people to try new things, keep playing with colours and styles.
Totally.
Yeah, otherwise you just become safe.
That was me before Designerex.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Actually,
it's
you said that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I only try to wear colour and different things because of Designerex, because I know
because you can send it back. You wear it once,
Exactly.
you can send it back.
You know what works.
And truthfully, every time that people are like, oh my God, where's your dress from?
Yeah.
Where are you wearing? It's almost always Designerex.
Yeah. Whenever I put it on Instagram, some people are like, oh my, can I rent that from you? I'm
Yeah.
like, you can rent it straight from Designerex.
Yeah.
So I don't have it anymore.
Yeah. So, like, not many people know that we've got more dresses and outfits available than, you know, David Jones or the Iconic and most retailers. So the diversity of brands and styles is just mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Over 1,000 different brands, 45,000 live listings. Like, the size range is huge. So
just go. It's quite literally. It's not overwhelming because you could go on there and find absolutely anything.
I think you have to kind of have some direction. As to, you always told me, go into a shop, try on different dresses, and then you know what to go and look for when you jump on Designerex. So I know I love Beckenbridge. I love certain types of dresses. So I just jump on and be like, do they have that dress? They always do. If not, I'll just message Kirsten and be like, do you have this dress? And she always has it. Like whatever dress I'm looking for. Yeah, she always finds it. Yeah.
actually, I've got like a wish list for you because I come across them and I'm like, this looks so good on Carmel.
You've actually done that. You've done that a few times where you're like,
it's incredible. Personal
I
stylist.
know a dress that would look so good on you. You've said that to me before as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is
There
always
you
right.
go.
It's just the motherly instinct.
And our
Yeah.
personal stylist.
I know.
Yes.
But hey, everyone can have that. If
Yep,
they
if you jump
go
on
and
Designerex.
Jump on
Yeah.
And
Designerex.
become
So-
friends with Kirsten.
So curating what we do have is kind of our next, opportunity and challenge.
Yeah.
And obviously, we talk about it a lot in e-commerce, and it's old news almost, personalization. But obviously, we're doing things completely different. We're not controlling the stock. We need to, understand.
Yeah. I was going to say, and like, stop me if this is already on the roadmap, but there was this, one of the partners I work with built a site called UTime. Now, they're no longer in Australia. They have just, I think, in the Swedish market now. But I loved the concept of what they were doing, and I think it's highly applicable to Designerex, which was essentially you didn't have to be an influencer, but you had a profile of all of your beauty products that you use, how you use them, the way you use them, details. And you'd have that section of the website that you can then go and link out and purchase directly from this influencer profile. I feel as though there'd be something similar that would work really well in the Designerex context.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Wouldn't go that far?
No. I'm not going to go too deep into our pipeline because there's a lot. There's a lot there, and and we understand what our customers want.
Yeah.
And we're definitely onto it. Where the thing for us is we don't lack opportunities.
Yeah.
We have to prioritize what we do have in front of us.
Yeah.
Going back to your point, Hannah, with the tech thing, like
Yeah.
every change, because we are now at that point with over 45,000 listings, every tech adjustment we do it meticulously.
Yeah.
And it's all, I guess that takes a lot longer than what it used to take in the early days, but we're still very agile, and we like to think of ourselves as that.
It's raised a good point, though, because I think this is where people get overwhelmed. You can have 1,000 good opportunities, but only one great one. And you should always focus on the great one.
Yeah.
Totally.
Because otherwise you spread yourself way too thin and you actually end up accomplishing nothing. Yeah. So it's...
Well, that's a bit like our focus on just renting
Yeah.
for women's fashion, special occasion wear. Some people have gone into menswear. It's quite easy to say, oh, okay, we'll start doing resale as well. Because, yes, it is at some point, complementary.
Yeah.
But for us to do that, then it changes our marketing message, and then
Yeah.
it changes a lot of different things for us in the back end and the front end. So,
Yeah.
sticking to one thing and doing it well
Yeah.
is something.
Just like Uber doesn't sell cars.
Yeah.
They just focus on the ride.
Well, it's something that at Shopify gets spoken about a lot. This concept of main quests and side quests, and you can have a few side quests, but if your side quests are overtaking the priority for your main quest, you've got to kill the side quests.
Yeah, totally.
You have to focus on what your main mission is and doing that well, and don't let anything else around you distract that. So it's great for you to hear that, like say that especially on these types of forums, because there's probably a lot of businesses that are in that predicament at the moment where they're like, we can do everything. How do we focus? How do we make sure that we're just sticking to what we've set out to do?
Which goes back to your values and making sure that you're
Yeah.
prioritizing what you're staying true to your values. Yeah. So conscious that you have to pick the kids up. So let's go to our last segment, which is just quick questions that we're going to fire off.
This is my favorite.
This is her favorite. First question, one thing you've learnt during your entrepreneurship journey that has always stuck with you?
Whenever you don't know something, I read it once, I think it was in a Tony Robbins book. If you don't know something, you say to yourself, if I did know, what would I do?
You're kind of giving yourself back the power,
If I did, because more often than not, kind of where you what your next, you kind of know.
Yeah.
And it might be even a procrastination.
Yeah.
Potentially that.
Yeah.
Costa's
like
the
that.
king of quotes. Like he'll
Love
walk
that.
around and
I
say,
know.
"This person once said."
Oh,
And-
so
I-
good.
yeah.
I love that though.
Yeah.
I love a good quote.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And just like really thinking, I'm gonna stew on that meaning of that one.
Little nuggets.
That little
Wisdom.
nugget.
Do you have one, or you
Oh God.
just want to
Yeah.
share his?
Yeah. You got one for me? No, there is a quote, but it's not maybe related to the question. But entrepreneurship is a bit like, and this was a quote I think from Reid Hoffman. It's a bit like jumping off a cliff and putting together the aeroplane as you go down.
I see.
So if anyone's thinking
Aeroplane,
of
not parachute. Interesting.
it's
Okay.
kind of like you got to put the aeroplane together
Yeah.
before you
Yeah,
Crash.
right.
before you,
Interesting. I like
So-
that one too.
because you're kind of making it up as you
Commit
go, but
to it
Yeah.
and solve it
solve
as,
it
you're going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you'll never know everything.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. Who is more cool, calm, and collected in business? Costa or Kirsten?
You're both pretty.
I think in business it's
I think also, I think we both have our moments without a doubt, depending on what happens during the day, because you're always dealing with this issue and that issue. And I think if something gets too much for the other person's always there to counterbalance. So yeah, if what's going on there? Like, something tech happened. Kirsten will be like, or the opposite.
It is
Kirsten-
interesting. Like
Yeah.
you kind of go into this ultra positive mode. It's just automatic for us. Like no, it's
To
fine. Like
counteract.
this is
It
we're
counteracts,
killing it. Like,
It's great. That's a great partnership then. Yeah, 'cause that's exactly what you want.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we didn't really talk much about the fact that you're business partners and life partners. It's like that adds the level of complexity. So you want to find that balance of when one is stressed, the other one is calm, and vice versa, the yin and the yang.
and I do think Costa is quite an optimist, and I can be quite a realist. Right?
You want that?
Yeah, so I'm like this, like, Costa, I was crying before launching. I was like, this isn't perfect and it's not right and we need to get it right. And he's like, just do it. Like, it's going to be fine. Everything's going to be
Oh, it was
fine.
6 months of building. We had to launch. Like,
yeah.
It's like, Kirsten, it's done. Like,
Yeah.
we have to do it. And I'm like, it's bug ridden. And it was. And he's like,
I don't
it just
like
has to happen.
bugs.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
But it does work in reverse as well. Sometimes Kirsten can, and we're probably forgetting the moments, but sometimes Kirsten can be the optimist. And look, even for example, the Afterpay example that you said before, you were pushing the Afterpay a lot. Like Kirsten was, and that's the other thing. Kirsten a lot of the time has really picked where the market is going from a female customer perspective.
Yeah.
And Afterpay was one of them.
Nice.
Yeah.
You were like, what is this thing? Why do we need
I'm
it?
like,
She's
just
like,
get-
we need
Yeah,
it.
Kirsten's like, we
integrate
did.
it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then like, okay, well,
Yeah.
true, we definitely did need it. And then it was like, boom.
Costa's good at getting a lot done with a little. So we've done a lot. We've done a lot of unique custom integrations and things like that. It's because he can get it done.
Yeah.
He
Throw it to Costa.
No.
Just somehow make do.
no,
Oh,
but
that's
he-
why, like, sometimes with the ideas, okay, hang on. You know how much work is involved in that idea.
I mean, look, if he got Kirsten, he could get anything.
I like that one.
Yeah.
Well,
Totally. Yeah.
Oh, wrong one.
yes.
Nailed
There
it.
we go. We'll just edit it to be seamless.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. What is your favorite travel destination?
New York and the Greek islands.
yeah.
I'm waiting for that invite to Greece for the wedding. I'm still waiting.
Everyone's waiting for that.
Yeah,
invite.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, we
One
fell in
day.
love. We fell in love with New York, so yeah, that's probably a top one for me too. But a sucker for hot weather, so obviously, like domestically, Queensland.
Here you go
anywhere
to
in
Noosa soon.
Queensland. Yeah.
That'll be nice.
Sorry, you didn't get the
Yeah.
invite. Sorry.
Next time. Yeah. Last question.
Best tip for co-founders / parents in business.
Don't forget pickup time.
He's like, we gotta go.
I think parenting actually makes you smarter with your time. So I actually think it adds to the entrepreneurial journey in a better way. You really value those 5 minutes.
Definitely.
Before, we used to waste so many lots of 5 minutes. And like I even think in 5 minutes, what can I do in this next 5 minutes? Because what you do in the next 5 minutes, you can do a lot in 5 minutes. Like what call are you going to make in 5 minutes?
Yeah.
What email are you going to send in 5 minutes? So if you start breaking your day down into
Yeah.
5 minutes, there's a lot of tasks there.
So true. It's like when we're at Pilates and
Yeah.
we're doing something for 30 seconds, but it feels like the longest 30
Oh,
seconds.
yeah.
Why does time drag out in that moment?
I know.
You know? So you can get a lot done.
I actually love that because I think that we are creatures of procrastination at times, but it's harder to think in big blocks, but easier to think in chunks. It's like break it down task by task,
Yeah.
make sure that you keep the momentum and the
True.
endurance up.
The gym is one way,
yeah.
yeah. But I mean, basketball game, how much do they do in 8 seconds? 8 seconds. Oh, wow, you got 8 seconds
Yeah.
to go. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
No.
8
Okay,
Costa,
yeah.
8-second blocks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Faster and faster.
But I do think parenting gives you that additional, let's make our time more efficient, and you do become more efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Advice from Mama Kirsten.
I don't know. I think understanding each other's strengths and weaknesses, and then trying to pick up that and understanding each other's and working well together there. And yeah, it's going to be a bit of 50-50 with the household and with the work-life balance stuff. So I think it's ongoing challenge. But
100%.
there's benefits to it. You understand the late nights.
Yeah.
You understand what you're going through. Yeah, you can.
I've heard of, and I know you were in a podcast, I think, Hannah, with Simon Baird,
Yeah.
and I love his take on it. I think it's so true.
Yeah.
I think it's so true. At the end of the day, you're both, whether you're in business or not in business as a couple, I think either way, you're going to be in business, whether it's your house mortgage or you're going to, so,
Yeah.
and the fact that you can share it with each other. I really love his perspective. I think that
Yeah.
really resonates there.
Yeah, I agree.
When I used to work in Barangaroo, and you had just had your second child, I used to see, or maybe you just had Maddie. Anyway, I used to see Costa every morning walking with 2 coffees back to the apartment. I was like, in my mind, I'm like, thank you for buying her a coffee every morning. Every time I'd see you walking down back to the apartment, I'm like,
Yeah.
bless him.
Yeah, I get a coffee before I wake up. Pretty much, there's a coffee waiting.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
guys,
it's
yeah.
so
the
nice.
best.
Yeah.
The best.
So good.
Anyway.
Guys, thank you so much. We really appreciate having you on the show. I'm sure a lot of our listeners are going to jump onto the website now. So just monitor the traffic. It's all because of the podcast.
Just letting you know.
Not your SEO, Costa. Thank you so much. And I'm just really glad to be here. You know, I consider you guys really good friends. So it's really nice to share this
I know.
chat with you.
Few exclusives.
Officially
Love
and-
that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Come back anytime.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
So we do our little jiggle again. Oh, it's so much fun.
Yeah.